Good afternoon, sports fans. This is George with Custom Tied Flies and Guide Service. And this afternoon, we are going to build some Great October Caddis with a cider. The recipe is, the hook is Mustad C53. You can use any stimulator hook. TMCO 200 or whatever. I tie them in a size 8 through 12, and these are 12s that I'm going to make. It calls for tan Loco foam. So I've cut 1/8 of an inch wide strips for the 12s. And for the 8s, I use a little less than 1/4 of an inch, and for the 10s I use a little more than 3/16 of an inch, somewhere in there. The wing, they're burnt wings, and I use either India hen in mottled, or I use pheasant body feathers. For this, I'm going to use pheasant body feathers because my India hen is spent. I got to get another one. The body under the foam is sulfur orange beaver dubbing, and then it has a size BR copper rib. So we'll get started here. And I'm using Danville Flymaster 140D in brown. So you get tied in. Run the thread all the way down into the bend. Run it back up. And your Loco foam, you want to put it shiny side down to tie it in. You just take one wrap and then come forward and come back so it makes like an X, and that holds that down and mashes it in good. You want to take the foam all the way down into the bend, and we'll just bring it up to check. Got my little piece of wire here that I'm using for the rib. Take it all the way to the back, and then just measure that again, the vise. I trim that off with the back of an old pair of scissors. And I get this piece of tape on here. It's this old pair of scissors. That lets me know that these are my wire scissors. And I'm going to dub this beaver fur straight onto the thread. No dubbing loop. I hate dubbing loops. I only use them when I absolutely have to. You don't really have to use any kind of wax either. You just want to, you can make the thread moist with some saliva, just a little itty bitty bit. And that will make the dubbing stick to the thread. You see how thin that rope is? It's very thin. It just comes from very small little wisps of dubbing. You can add more, but it's really hard to take it off. So just use a little bitty bit at a time. Now, I make these flies in stages, and this is the first stage, and then I'll show you the second stage in a minute. In this particular case, I'm doing that because once I get all this stuff in here, I'm going to want to apply some cement to secure it all in, and then you got to sit that off and let it cure for a little while. So when you're wrapping your rib, you want to make sure you wrap your rib towards you. Get the thread over top of the wire, take a couple turns, pull the wire back, take a couple turns. You snip off that excess, and then snip a triangle on the top so it looks like that. And using a pinch wrap, trap that triangle in right behind the eye, and then move your thread back. Oh, there we go. All right. Next is your Comparadun hair. You're just looking for a clump, maybe 1/8 of an inch thick. You trim that off the hide. I use spring scissors like this for working with hair. You want to pull these. If you look real close, you see the under fur that's in the deer hair. You want to just pull that out. You see how you got that under fur in there? You don't want that, so you pull it out. All right, and you take a fine comb. I get this at the drugstore for, combing your cat or something. You can also use, I have a knit comb in here. I got that at the drugstore. That's for combing nits out of hair, in case somebody had lice. That's what that's for. Pull the long ones out, and you got a little chunk of hair there. Put it in your stacker. Give it a couple of taps. And that evens the tips up. See how the tips are nice and even? Okay, you measure that again. Foam. You just want it to stick out past the back just a little bit. Trim this excess I'm going to trim them off square. Put that in place. You raise it up a little bit and take a pinch wrap. You want to get the thread around the clump just like you would on a hair wing caddis, and that keeps the fibers from going everywhere while you're trying to get it tied into place. Keeps them nice and straight. Then go behind, go in front towards yourself, and go behind. And then you got to kind of even that up. Sometimes the foam turns on you. Okay. Then you can trap those hairs down. Now you're ready for the cider. This is 3 strands of polywing. And I use the knit comb to kind of comb them out. Fluff them out a little bit. Trim off that excess and trim that off. Now comes the fun part. Wing burner. This is a specialized tool. This particular set is made by Terra Fly Tools. I don't even know if you can get Terra Fly Tool wing burners anymore, but I've had that quite some time. You want to pull off 2 individual feathers, and you're going to trim all that fluff off so all you have is feather. And you take these 2 feathers and you put them dull side to dull side and line the quills up. And you put them in the wing burner. Like that. And you take your fire. Then start on the bottom side and just kind of knock that ash off. And then go on the top side and knock that ash off. And you end up with two wings. So kind of pull some of those fibers off to expose a little bit of the stem. Looks like that. And that goes on the far side. Lash that in there. And you do the same thing with the other one. Make sure you have all that covered up. You don't want to see any white. You don't want to see any stem. You don't want to see any polywing. Just cover it all up. There we go. Then take your whip finisher. You can put a couple of half hitches in. Now, this is not done. This is just the end of phase one. I use head cement in a fingernail polish bottle, but you know, you can use Sally Ann hard as nails or whatever. I stole this fingernail polish bottle from my wife fair and square a long time ago. There we go. And you sit that off to the side to dry. And then after they're dry, you remount that. Then to find the feathers that you want, these feathers are coming off of a furnace colored cape. This is a Metz, and this is where you will use your hackle gauge. And I had one here that I was supposed to show you what a hackle gauge looks like. Anyway, well, I don't have one here close that I can show you what a hackle gauge looks like. If you want to know what a hackle gauge looks like, go to Google and type in hackle gauge. It'll show you pictures and pictures and pictures of them. So you choose one feather off of the cape and pull the fibers down so that you're just above the fluff. Okay, you get tied back in. Run your thread back to where the cider and the head come together. And you put your hackle in. You want to put it in at a 45-degree angle to the long axis of the hook shank. Then you got your non-English hackle pliers. And when you're putting this on, you want to stroke the fibers, call them barbs. You want to stroke those back as you go around, because you want to get these wraps right in front of each other. And your hackle's going to try to roll on you. You got to keep that under control. You don't want your hackle to roll on you. Once you get about a 1/16 of an inch or so behind the head or behind the eye, this is where you're going to start your head. Give your thread a spin to the clockwise. That way it'll tighten up. Okay. Oh, I fouled that head up a little bit. Okay. That happens. Alrighty then. Now that I got my head on there and I got my collar on there, and go for a little dot of head cement. This is lacquer head cement. This is a dry fly. Do not use UV resin on a dry fly. UV resin is 1.5 times the density of water. So if you think back to your science classes when you're in high school, if you put something that's denser than water in water, it'll sink. So you want to make sure that you don't want your fly to sink by the head. You want it instead to sit up on the top. This particular fly will ride kind of like this, right on, yeah, you can't see it, kind of like this, right on the surface tension of the water. The hair and the foam and the hackle will keep it up. And that's how that goes. So there you have it, sports fans. The Great October Caddis. Excuse me. If you like the tutorial, please like and subscribe to this Facebook page. You can also find us on our custom tied virtual fly shop by searching Custom Tire, TYER 02. That's our Facebook virtual fly shop. You can also find us on the web at www.custom-tied.com. CUSTOM-TIED.com. Have a splash, don't forget the dash. Again, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the Great October Caddis with cider. Happy tying!